Oh my God! Unbelievable! What a fight!
Hello. Yo.
Did you call me?
Yeah, I was just wanting to know if y'all what y'all are gonna do for today. If y'all are gonna do anything.
You're the one for me.
Yeah, but are y'all gonna barbecue? Oh shit, I'm not on mute. Headed for a run now. Head out on the highway. Looking for adventure. And it coming my way. Mauricio Solomon's born to be wild. And he's fucking dumb as shit. What's going on, everybody? Mario here in Fighting FX. And you know what time it is. It's roughly 2 o'clock somewhere else. So we are live today. We weren't live yesterday. For those that know, I hurt my ribs playing golf and working out. I pulled a muscle in the ribs, like between the rib cage. It's been extremely painful. I've been dealing with that for nearly 4 weeks. According to ChatGPT, it's about a 3 to 6 week recovery timetable because I re-injured it. So didn't get to go live today. I literally spent all day in bed. That's how much it was hurting. Or not all day, but most day. So we're gonna go overtime today. We're doing the real deal Holyfield marathon all day. Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, IG, TikTok, and X. And I know X, everybody else wrapped up doing it, likes, follows. I've been getting them. So I appreciate everybody who's tapped into the community. Shout out to Ness this week. Shout out to James and what's the girl's manager's name? All of them for tapping in today. All of them for coming through. If you missed any of the episodes from this week, you can go to YouTube or X but really those are the only two. And catch those replays. So today we have a couple of people coming through. Hopefully Doomy's coming through. I sent him the link and I messaged him earlier. He hasn't hit me back yet though. Let me see. Can you do 6:30? Okay, so we got Abe coming through as well. He's going to talk to us about Survivor Series War Games. He was in the building. We don't have him for a long time, if we have him at all, to be honest with you, because he's got a bunch of stuff right now. He's super busy, personal stuff, and he's journalist of the year. You know what I'm saying? Editor of the year. And father of the year. You know what I mean? New baby boy, but he's still pumping out all of that. Amazing work over there at fightsatw.com. You can go to fightsatw.com, check out my work, of course, but tons of other really great work by, as I've said many times, pound for pound, one of the best writing staffs in all of combat sports, across mediums, across platforms, and across sports within combat sports. So we got both of them coming through. Big things today, big topics, huge topics. It's going to be huge. First of all, we're going to start. Actually, we're probably going to end up starting with wrestling because Abe if he does come through, he's supposed to come through at 5 my time, maybe 5:05, 5:15, whatever. So if he doesn't end up coming through, we'll start with boxing and we'll go to wrestling. But if he ends up coming through, then we'll start with wrestling and go to boxing. So what we got today on the agenda, we got a lot, guys. We got a lot. There's really very interesting things going on right now in boxing and in professional wrestling. And here is where you are very fortunate as a member of this community. I got you covered on the story that is linking both of them. Yeah, because in futures past, there's a wrestling story of significance. There's a boxing story of significance, but they kind of just, you know what I'm saying? They go in their own little flow, never crossing streams. Maybe they get a little close, but eventually the waters ride out into their own separate system. However, today, December 4th, 2025, as of many times over the last year and a half, 2 years, specifically this year in 2025, the wrestling and the boxing are They're flowing together, baby. And nobody in this game has got you covered the way your boy's got you covered. Your boy's going to break it all down for you. He's going to explain what's really going on here. Now, this isn't the conspiracy episode, okay? This isn't the moment where I start like getting into these like crazy crackpot theories. Not at all. Not at all. In fact, if we have long enough on this show, right? Because we're going to split the show up. We're going to do half here in the studio / office at the Munguia residence, and then we're going to move over to the Munguia compound. It's really just a house on 1.5 acres. And we're going to watch the Cowboy game over there and then roll the rest of the show there. Maybe do a little gaming over there tonight. I don't know what the rest of those guys' schedules are like today, but if they're down to get their ass beat, you know what I'm saying, on Undisputed, well, then I'm down to fucking give it to them, bro. Let me tell y'all, on repeat, practicing as I get closer to the January launch and we start doing all things gaming on Twitch. Your boy's getting nasty, bro. Your boy's getting nasty. Now, for a while, I was just taking out all my frustrations on Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia. One at a time, each one of them would just get their ass beat real quick by me, whoever I'm picking, right? And then I would go lower and lower, right? That's how I get better at the game, right? I don't just put myself at the highest level or the lowest level and just fucking, no. I will pick the best player and fight the shittiest player and then start going down more and more. Okay, well, now I'm picking a guy who's 90. Now I'm going to pick a guy who's 85. Now I'm going to pick a guy who's 82. Now I'm going to go down to 75. And when I can beat that guy with the shittiest person in the division, I know I'm ready to move up to the next level. So probably do that later today. But today, covering the full encompassing of this, we have 2 stories that are essentially the same thing when you look at the bigger perspective, the bigger optics of this all. Okay. And this is a very, very important thing that's going on. You see, I don't know how many of you, were part of the community when the show got, fucking canceled on us and we got shadow banned, right? Hold up. Uh-oh, you know who it is. It's the Booker man himself, just in time. Gotta put 15 minutes on the clock here real quick, champ. What is going on? Booker Wallace, FightsATW.com's very own Father of the Year. Everything this man does it all. What's going on, champ?
What's going on, man? What's the deal?
Oh, you know me, champ. You know me. I'm ready for everything. But on a day like this, Abe, I needed you. I really did. Now, at the end of the day, I am very, very appreciative that you give me your time. I know how busy you are. And if y'all want to know how busy Abe is, you can go to FightsATW.com, check how much awesome, amazing content is published every day. However, in this time, Abe, it is you, and it's me too, the voices that are needed, right? Because not to hate on anyone else, there are many great journalists across the wrestling landscape and the boxing landscape. However, this very specific moment in time, we need somebody like you that's tapped into both, that can absolutely give us some sort of centerpiece as to what's going on. Now, for those that don't know, Abe has been covering boxing for, forever, and covering wrestling. He was just at the Survivor Series War Games in San Diego. Before we tap into it, can you just give us like a 60-second how was it, what it was like, and all your thoughts? And by the way, thank you for being here.
Yeah, man. Listen, I appreciate it. Yo, the energy was up. Situation out there was crazy, in a good way. I'm not gonna say, all right, and when I'm saying all this, it's not to mix it with the event itself. I'm just talking about atmosphere. I'm talking about
Sure.
vibe. I'm talking about energy. Energy levels were up. The city in San Diego, initially, like, they like to do things slowly. So, the ticket sales didn't spike until Thanksgiving, right, night, and then after that, it just became a wildfire. And then Fridays, meet and greets was crazy at the convention center across the street and of Petco Park. And then Saturday was mayhem. I mean,
Mayhem.
I got there like maybe 3 hours before the event began,
Uh-huh.
and San Diego was flooded with, it was a sea of people everywhere.
Mm.
Some dressed, some not. A lot of white John Cena t-shirts,
Yo, I
with the
saw it. It
in
was
the
just a
Padre
sea.
colors. Yeah.
Yo, you
Those,
said that they probably had like 60% of people were like wearing them, right? I mean, the
yeah,
merch they did that night.
at
That shirt,
least.
but I have a friend who runs a it's like a store, like he does like a online stuff like valuables and stuff like toys, cards, comics. He said that he believes that that specific Survivor Series shirt, the last PLE, will end up being like probably 100 times in worth what it is in like 10 years. So
Wow. Yeah. And it was crazy. They had a superstore like in the like a block or two away from downtown, and
oh man.
the merch tables were empty damn near by the end of the night. Like
Whoa.
I was going by and walking. Of course, I had to scoop up a Padres t-shirt for Padres Cena t-shirt for my son because I couldn't come home empty-handed.
Of course.
And man, even that, I picked up like one of the last in his size. It was empty. It was empty. Even how normally they have like boxes of restock underneath.
Yeah, that's
All
right
of
there.
that,
Yeah. Under the
all
tape.
that
Yeah.
was gone. All that was gone.
Oh,
But
that
the
is crazy.
but the energy level was crazy. Cena's entrance, wow. Like yes, watching it on TV gives you that energy, but being there, decibel levels at about 110 was crazy.
Did it feel like the building was shaking?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say that because it's an outdoor venue,
Oh,
so
true. Yeah.
that it's going out in the air. But man, it was loud. It was loud, and I was like, it was so loud, and yet it was so quiet for Nikki Bella. in the famous in the famous words of Roman Reigns, no pop.
Yo, hey, and they did that. They did that to themselves, champ. But I want to ask you though, specific. Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and I was gonna say, and unfortunately, it was that match, the Nikki Bella match, where everybody went to the bathroom and hit the concessions and got refills and all that. But oh man, it was good. A lot of good energy in there, and even afterwards, the post show, had like half the venue at the post show. It almost looked like a mosh pit.
Wow.
The post show looked like a mosh pit. I don't know if you really got that on the TV, but it was just a sea of people. I didn't understand. I didn't think that it was gonna be like that. That many people were gonna stay behind.
It never looks like that. It only looks like it's ever like that crowd right behind.
Nah. You could hear. I was, in the press area still, editing the recap that you sent for the website, and I hear like a massive noise coming from that area, which was across the back of center field. So, I was near home plate, and it was behind center field's building, and so it was quite a distance away, and it was loud. And energy was definitely up. I can see WWE coming back for another PLE, even though Triple H said that it was a challenge to do it in a baseball park.
Yeah.
But guess what? Money talks, bullshit walks.
Exactly. Two things real quick. One, the post show, the fact that more and more people are staying behind, the fact that these post shows are like actually offering something to the fans, right? Like we learn plenty of times things that I don't think we would have otherwise learned, right? They got to go out there and they got to say something that matters, right? It's not just a recap because you can get that anywhere. You got to have Triple H come out or Punk or anybody, invested or whatever the big storyline is that day, right? And they come out and they do it. Do you think that based on what you saw at Survivor Series and the success and the building upon the post show, that you could foresee not so distant future, maybe next year, maybe the year after, where they start to utilize the post show and actually put in programming for it that the live crowd is expected to stay and watch? Like maybe not like huge like angles or matches or anything like that, but maybe like, you know, when Kevin beat up Cody in the back of the parking lot, maybe something that launches an angle. Could you see that being utilized in that post show spot?
100%. I think they're little by little they're doing that now. It's almost
agree.
like, and I get it now. What they're doing is they're taking a little bit of the reality out of the PLEs, you know, the post press conference, and continuing the story of the show
Afterwards, yes.
afterwards. So, which leads into, you know, Monday Night Raw and everything else. So I get it. I get the reason why they would do that. And yeah, I can see it. It's already kind of starting to be that way, but I think more so in the future it will be. But I will give you a little nugget here exclusively
Love it. You know, we love
on the
exclusive.
Mario Munguia show.
Oh yeah.
This is exclusive, but I did hear that the WWE Uncut Season 2 has finished filming.
Wow. Okay. Huge news. Huge
Yes.
news.
And
Thank you so much.
And that they're currently editing the footage that they have acquired.
Wow. 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 So that means that there is something there's something that we're going to get from Survivor Series, I think, that we didn't know. Now, I want to ask
Maybe
you
not
this.
Survivor Series. I think
Well,
up to probably like SummerSlam.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes more sense. But I'll say this. There was this little innuendo of a nugget of a story that got way too far out there, where Triple H was saying that politics and last minute scrambles, changes, ideas were a big part of this year's Survivor Series, bigger than every, and that it became a thing where people were literally politicking for different stuff. Now, I thought originally they were going to use that for storyline, because I never thought Triple H would give something like that out. You know what I mean? Unless it's for the show. And then it's like, oh, the whole, no, this is my team, CM Punk. No, it's Punk. It's Team Punk. No, it's Team Rose. No, it's Team Roman. No, it's Team Bloodline, whatever. All that goes into it, right? Now I wonder if that little nugget was meant to perhaps give us something with Survivor Series, you know, when they show that eventually. Maybe it's going to be for season 3 or whatever, but you know, and so basically when moments they don't have something, the PLE ends like in a big, huge whatever, they're still able to go and retcon storylines with Unreal. You know what I mean? So that's a very interesting point.
And it could be, you know, Survivor Series could have been the last of it, right? And so that makes sense, because wouldn't that be a piece of the trailer that would be hot? Wink, wink to my folks that are watching. You know, a behind the scenes of Triple H having a conversation with Punk and Brock Lesnar about these type of things. You know, you put that on the trailer. Oh, I'm watching.
Oh, everybody's watching that.
I'm watching that.
Everybody
So
is watching that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
final question real quick on this, and we don't have to stay long, just real quick. I want to ask you, so ESPN, there's reports that they weren't happy with Survivor Series. You know, there was a big backlash from the online community of several reports, including your own, that, you know, led us all to believe that the fans in Petco Park were very disappointed with the finish. That said, based on everything you've just told us, the money was there. They were cooking on merch. They were cooking at the concession stand. You know, everything is coming up. WWE, the site fee, I'm sure, was already enormous to begin with.
Yes.
They ended up with 46,000 plus in attendance, a solid number at Petco Park. Let me ask you, does it give WWE incentive at all to do anything different based off of potential ESPN rumors of being unhappy or WWE fan backlash, when at the end of the day, the event was as much a success as if it was the ending of John Cena turning heel, right? It was the same success because it's about the money and what they sold. Is there incentive to change the product when the money is there?
No, there's no incentive, because what you really have to analyze is just not that event as a single event. You have to see if there's a ripple effect from that event.
Well said.
Now, if there's a ripple effect and you see that within a 3-month period, 6-month period, then you have to look at, oh, we may have to change the way we do things, i.e., SmackDown, right? For a period of time, SmackDown just wasn't hitting the mark. So what did they say? Okay, we got to do something different, right? At that point. So I think it's just you can't make knee-jerk reaction decisions or decisions based off of like a singular event. You have to take a group of data, a group of occurrences, take a look at them, and if they all trend towards a negative direction, then that's when you start looking at making change. And that's with anything, any business or anything like that will tell you the same. In order for you to make change, you have to analyze, previous data, collect it. You have to collect it, analyze it, and see what went wrong, what went right, and then adjust from there. You can't do that just off of one event. So how does the next PLE look? Like, how does Saturday Night Main Event look? That's not going to get affected. All right, so we'll skip it. Now, how does the Royal Rumble look? Well, Royal Rumble is going to be in Saudi. That's not going to get affected. And then what's the one after that? Elimination Chamber, right? Is that in Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see how that goes. But, I tell you that it's probably not going to be affected unless they see like a drastic change in numbers.
Attendance.
I don't see them, making any type of changes like that. I think SmackDown was starting to suffer a little bit. That's why they had to switch it up. But yeah, I just don't see it. I don't see them changing anything right now.
Well, I appreciate that. For those that are just joining us, because we just got an influx of people on. Oh, thank you so much, Chris. Bro, this is I think your 10th time in the last month giving me the heads up on IG. So without you, I just want everybody to know, without Chris, Vela, and Troy, IG would never be live, just so y'all know. Okay, so Abe, appreciate all that. Again, if you're just joining us, according to Abe Gonzalez of FightsATW.com, season 2 of WWE's Netflix show Unreal has officially wrapped up its filming. I'm sorry,
Uncut. Is that Uncut? Unreal?
It's Unreal.
Uncut.
It's Unreal.
Unreal. Okay.
No, it's Unreal. Yeah, Unreal. Let me make sure. I'm almost positive. WWE Netflix. Yeah, Unreal.
Unreal. Okay.
Yeah, and so. So the filming has wrapped up. So obviously we're probably very close to getting a trailer, right? Wouldn't you say? Because after filming, they start to go into pre-pro, and they usually have the bullet points for the first couple of shows or episodes or whatever. They may tease some stuff. You don't think? Maybe by Christmas, maybe by New Year's.
I would say this: if I was a betting man, I would say that the trailer will premiere on the first Raw in January.
The first Raw in January. That makes sense. There is no specific date for the release of season 2, but many insiders report that a January 2026, possibly around the Royal Rumble, is the most likely of releases for season 2. So we'll keep an eye on that. Abe, the big story that's going on right now, I am not good enough at this job yet to do what I would want to do. And that is to take it piece by piece for our community, right? And to give them the full context of this, because this is such a bigger story than what's gone on this past week, right? Concerning Crawford, the WBC, Mauricio Suleiman, the belt, Nick Khan, his interview this week, and TKO and their feelings with the Crawford Canelo stuff, Dana White and his place in all this, the Ali Act. This is all so much bigger, and you have been covering it expertly for the last couple of years, specifically over the last 6 to 8 months. You've been able to really show us what is going on, and every single thing you've said so far has come to fruition as it deals with the TKO thing. You had said we're going to get, Crawford Canelo promos. Promos during the show. You talked about how they were going to include, how they were going to merge together to produce a single effort promotional, a promotion for the fight. And so you've been on the money and all this. Again, I'm not good enough to do that. So all I'm going to try to do in this moment is appeal to you and you understanding this thing as big as it is. So I'm just going to update real quick what's going on, and then you take it away, please. I know that's unfair, but I'm just, again, this is too big for me to do in like a 2-hour little, you know what I mean? So just so people that understand, Nick Khan just recently went on the Pat McAfee show, and he lambasted now, he never mentioned Mauricio Suleiman by name. He said the head of basically a sanctioning body that they dealt with during Canelo Crawford. That is all but saying WBC's Mauricio Suleiman.
The term he used was World Boxing Confederates.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So I literally forgot all about that. Yes. And so he talked about this, and this was a calculated move here, right? These were specific things Nick Khan was bringing up that I'm sure either he or a team of people said, this is where we need to go with this next. They talked about Mauricio Suleiman wanting the best, front row tickets to fights and wanting the best hotels and his meals and all these different aspects that hark on the FIFA scandal from not so long ago that was uncovered by many different reporters, but HBO's show, they did a really good Inside Sports. They did a really good expose on the FIFA scandal and what it was like. These people use these nonprofit agencies to essentially not really line their pockets, but essentially make sure they're living the good life. You know, what does it matter if somebody gives you $50,000 and you use it on a yacht and a private plane to vacation in an island versus them just flying you to the island to have the vacation? There's no difference. There's no difference at all. So that happens. But this is after Mauricio Suleiman strips Terrence Crawford of the super middleweight title, the WBC super middleweight title, which he won from Canelo in a fight that most people did not think he was going to win. They strip him of the belt, and the reason is because they say he has failed to pay sanctioning fees for the last 2 fights. Now, sanctioning fees could be a whole other show, Abe. I've talked too much. Can you tell us right now where you're at, what you're seeing, what you're thinking? Share with us what's going on right now.
First of all,
really going on.
I want to shout out Mike Woods. He dropped a story on fightsatw.com in relation to how this has a scent of Riddick Bowe throwing the WBC belt in the trash can 35 years ago, and so kind of similar, a lot of similarities in that. So this is a situation. Crawford made, certain points in there where he said the other sanctioning bodies agreed upon a certain amount of money, that they weren't tripping, that the WBC wanted more than what they wanted. But the whole thing with Mauricio and Crawford, I think it's a little bit bigger than just what it is on the surface. Like, this feels more like TKO versus WBC. And I say that because, Crawford, he's the ring champion. Within Crawford's team, advisor type of thing. They're linked with kind of TKO Zuffa situation. And so, not to say that they told him to do that. I would just say that, it benefits TKO more than it benefits anybody else that Crawford takes this stance, because what Nick Khan did was he took that and ran with it. He took that as the lead topic and conversation with all these interviews, which didn't allow for, or I should say, which avoided him talking about anything else with the Revival Act, right? That could come up. So the focal point was the WBC, them stripping Crawford, how that was messed up and everything else. And, and he goes into, this is the reason why we're doing Zuffa, because of this and sanctioning bodies and mandatories and, stuff like that. And so there's just there's a lot of layers to this. I just don't think that it's hard for people to grasp all the layers that are involved in this thing. And Woods kind of alluded to it in his article where he said that, you know, Crawford being stripped of that title creates a matchup for the title that is something that Turkey wanted. You know, a fight that Turkey wanted. And you know, the thing with the WBC, they're a little, you know, they're real wishy-washy. You know, Crawford saying that he got the WBC belt given to him by somebody else other than Mauricio after the fight. And that, you know, he had kind of like a smirk on his face, you know, not really happy that he had won the title. We've seen this. We've seen the favoritism. We've seen, look, Benavidez was a mandatory for like 2 years and still didn't get the Canelo fight. We've seen how, you know, it can be looked at that. And Mauricio, instead of playing it cool, his ego and pride were hurt. So what does he do? He goes on social media, says that Crawford should apologize to him and everything. I was like, who? You know, in my mind, I said some of the same things that Crawford was saying. Like, who are you? Like, who are you? Crawford is the one that fought in the ring. Crawford is the one that went through training camp. He's got to apologize to you for not paying you. That's like me calling the electric company and say, I'm sorry, I didn't pay I didn't pay your bill. Even though you're charging me, like I'm sorry, I didn't pay your bill. Like, no, your audio's out. Your audio's out.
Thank you. I put myself on mute. And the cheapest part of that, Abe, was trying to insinuate that not giving that money is somehow taking it out of the pocket of other fighters because a portion of it goes. And it's like, dude, if you know anything about the way that works, and I could never say anything because I don't have, you know what I'm saying? Like all I've ever had is people explain it to me. But if you understand the way that works, that's not the way it works.
And that's the point, right? And Woods put that in there too. Like,
yes. This is a great piece, by the way. Please go to fightsatw.com right now and check this piece out.
It's not like there's been an audit on that or there's documentation that is official that shows how much money has been distributed to these fighters, you know, how much is in the fund and all this other stuff. None of that has been made available. So are we supposed to be, this is the thing, we're in 2025. People are not taking people's word for anything. Transparency is king.
Well said.
You want to tell me something? Cool. Show me the stuff that comes along with it. That way your point can be validated. I'm not taking your word for it. People are not taking people's word for it. You got to show them the money, basically.
You're absolutely right. Abe, I wrote this down because I wanted to go over it when you said it real quick. You said you had talked about the potential real issues that are going on here, right? As it relates to a lot of this. What do you think the potential is that maybe not the whole thing rides on this? Not at all. Likely no one issue is the biggest issue, but perhaps even a small issue has to do with the potential, the rumors, the innuendo that we've heard about the idea that the ring has wanted to make sort of an overhaul in boxing and create and make its belt the belt, right? Right now, the WBC belt, the green belt, as a lot of people reference it, has a lot of history, has a lot of nostalgia that you could never take away from it, right? And it is worth a lot as a brand, okay? That said, the ring has always, you know, operated as like an independent body. They don't ask for seats. Like there's no one head person at the table, right? I mean, not there wasn't, I mean. So I wonder how much of this is about Mauricio potentially railing against that idea or even trying to get ahead of it, or what do you think could be there but in that regard?
I think that what's happening is that Mauricio is showing his frustration publicly, and that's not good.
Oof.
It's not good at all. He and at the same time, he's also trying to flex a little bit, but his flex is very short-sighted. And I don't think he realizes that his actions are providing ammo to the people that are trying to take him out of the game. Period.
Wow. Wow, that's a huge statement. Huge
Period.
statement.
So now
Wow.
Mauricio probably doesn't think that nothing will take down the WBC.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you that there's a first time for everything.
Mm.
And look, it could happen. He's giving folks ammo, and this Crawford thing. I was wondering to myself whether Crawford is a big enough figure to maybe start a revolution like that, and
Wow.
I think he is. I think he is. But you know what? You don't
Wow,
hear
that's so interesting, dude, because so many people rail against his power as a star and, oh, he's not drawn this, he's not done that, blah, blah, blah. But in this regard, you are saying that he has this almost like, I don't want to use that word because people are going to take it weird. He has this power, this realism to him, right? This part of him that's never faltered in front of the media, right? Like he is a stand-up guy. He has that aspect of the reputation, and in that there is a stardom that he could do things that other fighters couldn't. You know what I'm saying? Very well said.
especially when you take down the king.
Oof. You're right. You're so right. You have that regard. Man, that is, that's an article right there. I
Like
mean,
when he walks into the Canelo rematch next, he should wear a shirt that says Kingslayer.
that would be nasty. Nasty.
And then have a picture of him with the gladiator outfit holding
Yes.
Canelo's head in his
And
hand.
for all the Game of Thrones references, bro, with the hand and the glove, Jamie, oh, that would be sick, bro.
Yeah.
You are saying so much. This is like borderline poetic because in one regard, everybody that was Bud haters, right? Which are at this point, I think kind of just the saddest people on the internet, like the loneliest people. And I'm cool with some of them in terms of like not hating. I don't know. I really don't get their obsession with hating on Bud. I don't. That said, though, for all the talk of like, oh, well, he didn't take Canelo's stardom that night. He might have beaten him and he might have taken the win, but he didn't take the torch with him the way that Pacquiao took it commercially after he beat Pacquiao, or the way that Floyd did commercially after he beat De La Hoya. So, and you have those moments where people say that, but in this regard, for people in the know like you, there is a power he gained that night, and that power plays out in the real world of boxing, in the real business world where deals and structures and partnerships are created. It matters that he won and he did take something that night, and you are speaking to what that thing is. And it's not even a wink wink, but it is a lot for people that are in the know here. If you understand and can read between the lines of what that means, you know what I mean? Listen, I know you don't have a lot of time left, so we can jump. I mean, I wish that we could go into this WBC thing more. Maybe next week, that would be awesome. But I have to get your take real quick on this wrestling stuff. CM Punk, Braun Breaker, the big thing was announced. They're going to fight January 5th. Huge match. I love it. Immediately, I thought this would be a great moment for the WWE to completely shake it up after a very stale, forgetful 2025. Let's wrap it up. You thought, no, this isn't the right time because that's a Mania spot, SummerSlam spot, big PLE spot, right? Not meant for a Raw, even if it is the first anniversary of Netflix on a Raw on Netflix. Then you hit me with the story that came out, and we now know that CM Punk has landed a role in what we know for now is a 2-movie deal, possibly 3. He is confirmed for the first 2 movies. If there is a third one, I'm sure he'll be in it. Based on a New York Times best-selling book. I think it's a romance. I don't remember, a drama romance, something like that. But anyway, he landed a key part. It's called The Bodyguard. I think it was a 2021 series. There's 4 books from what I understand, but they're combining the last 2 into the third, if I read it right. That will all but take Punk out of his duties for the WWE. And you believe that could be the info that all but assures a Breaker win. Do you feel like that's still explained? And tell us what you think this means.
Let me tell you, if there was ever doubt about making that move, this past Monday erased all those doubts.
Oof.
Braun Breaker, in my opinion, had the Stone Cold Steve Austin King of the Ring moment in that
Mm,
promo.
mm,
You can at me if you want to,
mm.
because that guy, everything, everything was believable with that
Yes.
guy.
Yep.
Um, he everything about that promo was so legit.
It really did. It
And
really
if
did.
and even if you didn't like him, you would look at that and be like, man, that dude nailed that fucking promo.
Yes.
He
Yes.
killed it. He
He
killed
killed it.
it.
Even where he seemed to slip, there were moments that played into the lore of his family,
Yeah.
and they worked to this insane meathead who can't, articulate his words, and he's trying
Because
so hard to memorize the dictionary words he learned like 10 minutes before the pro. You know what I mean? It's just so,
he's
so good.
he slipped up with right before saying AJ Lee.
Yes.
But somebody can say that, oh, he was about to call her something, and he
Oh,
caught
shit.
himself,
And he called himself.
and
Oh.
he said it. Yeah, whether that's real or not, or you could even
Whoa.
spin it. You could
Whoa.
spin it like storyline, right? Like,
Yeah.
but Braun Breaker, bro. I told you from the start, man. This guy's
Yeah.
got it all, and I
I think
think
you
that
even said 2026 was going to be the year that he
yeah,
won the Rumble and went to Mania and won the heavyweight title.
yeah, man.
I think so.
I think January is it. You put the title on him. Um,
Punk goes away for a little bit.
Punk films for 2 months. Comes back last PLE in March. Has his moment where I'm back. Now it's Punk versus Breaker 2 at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Breaker beats him again.
Yeah.
And then Punk goes away and then comes back when Seth Rollins comes back. Seth is doing this thing. All of a sudden, Punk costs him the match. And then, you start that all over again. I
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
I
I
just
like
booked the
that.
next 12, 18 months right
Hey,
there.
you sure shit did. Hey, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, right? For them to put Breaker in that position and allow him to sort of crash out for the next several months, bringing Punk back at some point, like, it doesn't matter. You have a main event, right? For whatever PLE you want to put it on, but specifically, you could put it on a night one of SummerSlam, a night two, or night one of Mania. You know what I mean? But then that doesn't even get into, possible Roman. I always felt like Breaker Roman is probably at least twice as big, maybe more than
That's
Reed Roman.
SummerSlam. That's SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like it really, you know what I mean? So there's so much there. I want to ask you real quick this, and only because uh I just have to. So you know that CM Punk's dog has passed,
Yep.
unfortunately, and for those of us that are dog dads like me, I know what that means. Canella, who those that don't know, I had mentioned it on Monday. We had her toe amputated. She had to have her right toe amputated on her right paw. She's still wearing the stuff. She's gonna have to keep the stitches in for another week now because it was still bleeding. Anyway, it is a hard thing, especially like when you don't have actual kids, right? They become your kids, you know what I mean? So I would never in a million years allow the death of Canella to be used kayfabe or in a storyline. But immediately, some of the degenerates in this community, I won't name any other names other than Supermax, said that they should use it, that Braun Breaker should utilize it in some way, shape, or form, whether it be a promo. Now, you don't even want to know what some of these other sickos were saying. I mean, they were literally advocating for, like, do you remember Big Boss Man, Big Show, after his father passed? That type stuff, which is like, yo, that was way too far back then. Big Boss Man showed up to the funeral. They were kayfabe at the funeral. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What do you think about the utilization of that type of stuff? And specifically, do you think it would go too far? Is it in bad taste? Or if Punk's okay with it, what do you think? Let rip? What's your take?
Oh man, everything has to start with, is Punk going to be okay with it?
Yes.
And it's going to also be how they use it. Not like this long conversation about it. Maybe it could just be one zinger. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you in the dirt next to your dog type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
it.
yeah, or something like, I think it's time for the next person in the Phil family to be put down or something like that. Yeah. Oh, that's nasty
Something like
work,
that. A
bro.
zinger like that.
Yo, and I think Punk is like, he could play, like, he's a dude who understands the game. You know what I mean? Bret Hart, I was watching an interview the other day. He said it perfectly. He said, do you want to make money with me or not? I'm here to do business. He said the reason him and Stone Cold were so good is because neither of them took it serious with each other. When they did something that they thought even could have crossed the line, they knew we're doing business together. We're here to make some money. Let's make some money. He said that was the difference between him and Shawn, even though he thought Shawn was the best worker. What do you think about Breakker winning the title? Can he sustain the popularity of the company? Do you believe he has that ability right now?
Listen, I would not believe it. I only believe it because he has a father and an uncle that were legends. Or that are legends, I should say.
Well said. Yep.
Legends. Period.
Yep. Period.
Um,
Tag team and singles. So many people don't realize they have a legit claim to top 10 pound for pound greatest tag team of all time.
Yes.
Separate from the great stuff that Scott did.
Yes. And so I think that they'll refuse to let him fail. Because they likely were really like pushing this. And listen, Braun Breaker could have been one of those kids that grew up with their their athletic father or mother, and that never really was given a choice other than to follow their footsteps, right?
Yes.
And that's all that they know.
Yep.
He could have been one of those guys. And even at this point, still like, hey, we're not going to let you fail. This is what you got to do. Blah, blah, blah. Work it this way, work it that way. Do this, do that. Wear the leather jacket with the spikes, do this. And I think that I don't see him failing. Braun Breaker is ready to go. Slap the rocket on his back. He's ready to go, champ. And I think that once he's there, he has the ability to sustain it. The whole thing is how does creative write a storyline, and who do they put him up against that will help carry him throughout those periods of time? Can't do it by himself.
Said, man. No,
it's the dancing partner, right?
And that's what we learned from boxing. The A side, B side matters. Abe, thank you so much, Jude, for coming through last minute. And especially with, as much work as you got going on, with the fights this weekend and then John Cena next week. So, I
got a quick 5 if you got something else.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about the John Cena stuff real quick, but I wanted to get a quick take on that from you. We got Gunther LA Knight. Listen, what are the odds that they would pull the trigger and go with LA Knight? Are they 0, or do you think enough heat has been garnered that it could happen?
I think it could happen, bro.
Wow.
For all the reasons that I told you about before, Gunther is a super heel. That night isn't going to be for that. Cena keeps talking about developing talent and leaving the house better than he left than he received it, right?
Yes.
For a long time, LA Knight has been taken up to this point and then brought back down. I think that this is the moment where LA Knight is taken to this point and then finally pushed to the next level after that. This is him climbing a mountain, and instead of continuing to fall, he gets somebody to push him from behind to get to that next level. And I think this is the moment they do it. I
Well
think that
said.
with Gunther, the people don't want to see it.
No, they don't. They hadn't want to see it. They've been telling you they don't want to see it.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that.
And somebody made the argument, Abe. They said to push LA Knight at this point is the complete opposite of what John Cena did. The man's 43 years old. Well, I'd argue that Gunther's 36? How old is Gunther?
Yeah, but at the same time,
Gunther's 38 years old.
Yeah,
38 years is 5 years old younger. Like you're not pushing the youth. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're pushing the next wave of the company, and LA Knight is part of that. He hasn't been with the company or been at that spot long enough, so Cena would be bringing up somebody, right, and putting them in the position to be successful. Yeah, he's gotten to some big matches and all that, but has he really gotten the push to the next level? He has not.
No,
and I think that this is the perfect opportunity to do that. And what I told you before, you do a face versus face. LA Knight gives Cena the best match he's ever had, kayfabe, of course. And then LA Knight, he either wins. No, LA Knight would win, but then he would raise Cena's arm in the sky, and everybody would be still on that same wave of energy throughout the match and after the match. He raises his hand, slaps him in the back, rolls out of the ring, and then lets Cena have his moments where he puts his sketchers on the middle of the ring and then leaves.
Well said.
So,
here's one more thing I'm going to say. And if John Cena is getting over that night, I'm sorry, Gunther cannot afford many more high profile losses. The tap out loss to Jey Uso is still something fans harp on. There are still fans pissed about that all the way to today. Okay. So to suffer another big loss, right? That doesn't do it. And then to be the guy that beats John Cena, taking that away from Dom, I'm sorry. There's no route that I see that Gunther works. Last thing.
And what you do is you get somebody to cost Gunther the match, and then you create a story with Gunther and that person for next year.
Love it. So real quick, the hooded figure. I have gone back and forth with it. I was pretty sure we were going to get Austin Theory. And, a lot of fans did a lot of ass research to show that it was Theory. But at the end of the day, we don't know who it was. And here's the other thing, right? I believe that the fact that we didn't get a reveal on Monday and the fact that they feel like they're going to push it out, they may end up retconning the whole thing, right? Even if it was Theory and was supposed to be Theory, they may end up changing it just because it's become so predictable that there's no way you get a solid pop out of it. Now, Abe, this is what I want to ask you. Two things. One, there is a strong narrative that they could utilize Jericho in this spot. Jericho is supposedly done with his contract, and he doesn't have to have to wait it out. There's no clause. He will be free to use come January something, just in time for the Royal Rumble. So you stretch it out, right? You only have a couple more Raws for the year anyway until January 5th. So you stretch it out, you play it out, right? Until you can use Jericho. That's one. Now, that's the overall narrative online. I want to give you mine real quick. And then if you have one too, but I just want to see where you're at with this. My pick is to stretch it out even further. I say stretch it out past WrestleMania, and at the end of the day, reveal it to be Cody Rhodes, and that it was Ricky Saints that was the masked man, or somebody in the faction that they can have, and you start the American Nightmare faction, family faction, officially in the WWE, and you bring up Ricky Saints at the same time, maybe even one other person, I really don't know, but you can play it out as long as you want, revealing day by day, week by week, it's not Roman like we thought. It's not Jay like we thought. It's not Rollins like we thought. And by the way, this gives them the opportunity to run multiple different storylines. I bring you to Sting, the bogus Sting at War Games, right? Same thing. We question Roman's, place in this, Zayn's place in this, week after week. Anyway, what are your thoughts? The hooded figure, is it working? Is it not working? And who could it be? Who would you want it to be?
I like the Ricky Saints idea. That's a really good idea. But I think that the Jericho thing can work too, because look how they did the Grande Americano, right?
Well said.
They would switch from one person to another, but use the same character, and obviously we knew it was two different people. So
Yes.
I think you can still kind of do that and get away with it and be okay. I mean, if I had to pick, I like your booking better, Ricky Saints, and you establish that new faction with Cody Rhodes, and just imagine you have Cody, Ricky Saints, Jade Cargill, and somebody else, and
that's dangerous, bro.
You got them flexing as a faction in front of the camera, saying, "Hi, AEW."
Oh shit, bro. That would be nuts. Yo, and what if they like trolled super hard and they were like, our faction is named the All Enforcement Wrestlers? Like, what? No, like, yo, that would be crazy. Yo, I love it. I love it. The troll would be epic, and
then you just end it with
bang. Hell yeah, exactly. Yo, Abe, appreciate it, man. Appreciate the extra 5 too.
Yeah.
Hit him with your personals, and then I'll give him the Fights ATW later.
Yeah, at AbeG718 on X, IG, and on TikTok, at AbeG Boxing on YouTube.
Hell yeah, we're gonna go enjoy Woodsy's article from today. So appreciate it. Peace out, man.
All right,
I'll talk
man.
to you soon.
All right, bro.
Later, champ. Yo, that was Abe Gonzalez, aka Booker G. Bro's booked like 95% of everything that's happened in WWE this past year. Like, real talk, like things that like weren't even on the radar, and he'd be booking them on this show, and then like 3 months later they fucking happened. It was crazy. But we're gonna get back to a couple of conversations real quick. We're gonna get back to the conversation involving TKO, Mauricio Suleiman, Terrence Crawford. Now, for those that are wrestling fans and don't understand what Terrence Crawford has to do with wrestling, and or Mauricio Suleiman, who runs the WBC, the green belt for casual fans. So you're probably wondering why that connects, right? And if you joined us late, you can go back, listen to a lot of what Abe said. I wish we had time with Abe today, like a full just hour to do this one thing. I mean, I knew we couldn't, and I wasn't prepared to do it either, but there's just so much to this story, and there's so much that we've been covering on this side because of the TKO stuff, right? Like, we saw this on the wall. I mean, Abe called this so long ago. He was like, dude, this is going to be like a full-on press for every single major point of combat sports. And he has not been wrong, to the point that we've seen this Ali stuff, the Ali Act stuff, become major storyline. And if you're a boxing fan and you can't understand what any of this has to do with wrestling, the main connection, the bridge here is TKO. Okay, TKO is the holding group that now owns both WWE, UFC, among other brands. PBR is one of them, and they've been putting on these, shows throughout the weekends over the summer and throughout the year, where they'd have like a PBR show on Thursday in the same town that they're running SmackDown on Friday, in the same town that they're running a UFC on Saturday. And so, we've seen this integrated sort of use of their company and their holdings and stuff like that. And then we've also seen a concerted effort to promote throughout the different mediums, right? If you're watching Raw on Monday, you were very aware of everything going on Canelo Crawford, right? If you were watching Raw that was the place where you learned a lot of different things, and got some of the first promotional stuff for it. And so UFC utilized the same stuff. This has been a thing where they're all kind of positioning everybody in certain places, right? UFC, we're going to do this Paramount deal here. WWE, we're going to get this ESPN deal here. And then Netflix is literally like in the business of just having whatever the best live shit that they can find, right? And that will a lot of times include both of these sides, right? And because WWE has a deal with Netflix that extends internationally much more than it does in America. In America, we get Raw, right? And then there's like a few more things, I think, on Netflix content-wise, right? But if you're living somewhere else, outside of America, there's a good chance that Netflix, a Netflix subscription gets you everything for WWE. You know what I'm saying? So there are these things that are happening, have been happening, that if you're playing chess, right? And on one side is TKO and Nick Khan and Ari Emanuel in Turkey and Rider Season and the Saudi royal prince family. And then on the other side is the world of combat sports, everything else that's wrestling, everything else that's MMA, everything else that's boxing. There is a concerted effort to take over, right? If you're a wrestling fan, you know that WWE has been counter-programming AEW at every turn. Now, you can argue that it's something that's gone on forever, and that's true, but nobody could argue that the heightened sense of awareness that WWE has showcased this year is beyond anything that they've showcased in terms of treating AEW like competition, right? And so that's to say, yes, they have cross-programmed or counter-programmed in the past, but never at the level that we'd seen this year. They utilized brands like AAA, right? They utilized WWE, they utilized NXT. They've done so many different things to be the crux or to be the obstacle in AEW's way, right? And then now they're in a situation where with AAA, they're also now competing against the MLL, right? And then it's like, where does New Japan fit and all that? So there's this, again, concerted effort from WWE to essentially further their dominance. They're already number one in wrestling, right? But further their dominance and squash out any potential threats and any potential competition, right? If you knew anything about the WCW, WWF war, the Monday Night Wars, WCW had been around forever, before, and that's before we get into the NWA stuff, right? Before we get into the NWA legacy and all that as it relates to WCW. So we had that before, right? And Vince was just competing. He was just competing right alongside them. Like, this wasn't a thing, right? It didn't become a thing until they got Hulk Hogan, and then they got Kevin Nash, and then they got Scott Hall, and then it became a thing, right? So if you're WWE today, right? If you're Nick Khan today, right? And you have an awareness, and you're Triple H today, and you have an awareness, you have an understanding, a knowledge of the first war you were in that almost brought y'all to closure, that almost brought the final blow to the company that was WWF, Titan Holding or Titan Group or whatever they were, Titan Sports. You almost turned them into a regional company again on their way to bankruptcy. Okay. So if you're Triple H, if you're Nick Khan, if you're Ari Emanuel, you are saying, we can't even risk that again. We cannot risk having a Monday Night War. And it would be very difficult, right, for anybody right now to perceive a way that AEW would become actual competitors, like neck and neck. That I can't foresee that happening, anytime soon, right? However, positioned as you are as the WWE, positioned as you are as the UFC, what does that make boxing? Where does that put boxing? Because boxing doesn't exist like the other two, right? Fortunately, we do have some safeguards, like the Ali Act. And that's based on the fact that boxing had long been taken advantage of by the mafia, by other outside forces, right? And so you look even today, I mean, as recently as the 90s, we had a sanctioning body under investigation, corruption scandal. Shit, who was it? Was it the IBF? It was, and we saw we saw the clips, right, of the undercover sting investigation in which and this was in the documentary of so it was a 2008 film entitled Assault in the Ring. And this was a documentary chronicling the fight between Louis Resto and Billy Collins Jr. And in this fight, Louis Resto was, I'm sorry, not Louis Resto. It was between, oh yeah, it was Louis Resto who was the fighter. It was Panama Lewis who was to believe uh packed Resto's gloves with a sort of plaster. And if you're familiar with boxing or Antonio Margarito, there is a process in which you can harden the wraps used to protect the fighter's hands and essentially turn them into plaster, right? They're these hard fucking things. And if you ever go and watch this documentary or the Billy Collins fight, you will see a violent affair that ends in Collins's face just being this ballooned, bloody, violent mess. It's one of the most horrific things you can see in boxing, knowing what this guy has in his gloves. Now, the doc's great. The doc is great. You should go and watch it. No. Wait, was that the doc? No. The doc is the other one that covers Don King after Rotman beats Lennox Lewis and on the verge to get that rematch throughout Showtime. That's what the doc is. So in that doc, they go and they show, I believe it was the IBF. Man, it's been so long. I can't remember now. And they show this, the undercover footage. They were wearing wires. They had cameras and he was taking basically bribes to bump up Don King fighters. They had caught someone else essentially, and then they turned him state's witness, and then this guy wore a wire and went in there and essentially bribed somebody. And so that's not that long ago, right? You're talking like 30 years ago maybe, and that's not that long ago. Like, we're not talking about like the 50s or the 20s or the height of mob and mafia interference. We're talking like after mostly every major criminal figure had been, put down. And yet, because there's always windows, right? So anyway, this idea that boxing is still a wild, wild west does not appeal to Nick Khan, Ari Emanuel, or Dana White. It doesn't appeal to them at all. Boxing does not appeal to them in the current state it exists. What they want to do is turn boxing's economy and structure to resemble that of the UFC and MMA, right? And so, like, if you are aware of MMA history, it was illegal in a lot of places, New York specifically. And there were a lot of major political figures like McCain who had nothing but terrible things to say about MMA. They called it human cockfighting. A lot of unfair things were lobbied at MMA at that time. So this is like a new business. This is like a new sport, a new venture, a new everything. And they're able to solidify it, right? And structure it just the way they want. So many people talk about fighter pay in the UFC. Well, they're able to structure it the way they want based on the parameters of the sport. Wrestling, same thing. Specifically with the WWE, they don't hire wrestlers. They hire contractors, right? Nobody works as a WWE employee. They all work as contractors for the WWE. And in that, you're able to skirt like certain aspects of the, business world, like healthcare and like 401ks and, like medical, all this kind of stuff that you would get from like an actual job and being hired by a Fortune 500 company like the WWE, right? Or I don't know if they're Fortune, whatever. But like a major company like WWE, you're not going to get it as a contractor, right? So these two companies have found a way throughout their history of basically recreating these things, right? You have to understand that even though wrestling existed before TV, and even though there was some version of MMA that existed before TV, right? Neither one of those entities existed in the manner for which they exist today before cable TV. So both of those businesses are not proprietary. Both of those businesses exist based on cable and streaming and pay-per-views and things like that. Whereas boxing existed before that, right? The financial skim, right? The resulting play against boxers, it was always legal at that point, right? We're talking prior to the Muhammad Ali Act. And so it wasn't until cable got involved in the site fees and everything blew up, right? And you have pay-per-view, millions of dollars are being stolen from fighters by Don King. These are facts. These are things you could look up and see. Promoters and managers and lawyers taking advantage of some of the biggest fighters, in the sport. So now all these years later, the little protection that fighters have in boxing as compared to the UFC and MMA, it exists it might actually exist because there's no one solidified promoter, no one solidified name to be able to like conduct everything like a king, right? Like Dana White does to the UFC or Vince McMahon had to the WWE. There wasn't that, right? What you had was a fractured power that existed at times between certain promoters. And now you could argue Top Rank has always been a player. For as long as there's been a player in this game at this level like this with TV, pay-per-view, all that, Top Rank's been a player, right? And so we know like in the 2000s, it was the Golden Boy Cold War with Top Rank, right? And then they fractured even further and went to PBC and Al Heyman and, and then Richard Schaefer ended up doing this. It's just like everything just fractured. And no one's ever been able to solidify power in boxing because stars exist at their own peril and you have them spread out throughout divisions, not in the way you had in the 50s and 60s where the heavyweight division was really the only monetarily valuable, promotion, right? Or sport or whatever. But now at this moment, again, it is not worth it to the UFC or to TKO, Ari Emanuel, Dana White to get into boxing from a business perspective in the landscape for which it currently exists, right? They need to rearrange certain parameters of boxing to make sure that it is set up for them to take advantage of at the highest level, like the most you can, right? And especially because you don't have access to the biggest stars, right? The biggest stars are mostly fractured. Now you can lure them in like the Ring has been doing in Turkey and you know what I mean? Like paying these guys to come across from different promotions. Like, Bob's not turning down nothing but his collar if he don't have a fight for Abdullah Mason or whoever, right? So they want to change it. How do you change it? Well, we know, or we don't know, but we do have some inkling of what their plans are as they exist within the Muhammad Ali Act, right? And we can get into that more. But for now, we focus on what's specifically going on with Crawford, the WBC. Now, Crawford taking a stand, right? That's how Abe put it, taking a stand against the sanctioning body corruption that has existed for so long. Now, I've seen so many fans out there right now arguing, you pay your bills. Oh, you pay your bills. Like you're supposed to be, and blaming Crawford for all this. That is successfully creating a vacuum for which no context can exist, right? If you are looking at this whole thing from a singular position of, did Crawford do this thing and owe this thing and have prior knowledge to it? Yes, then he should pay his bill. That's not what this conversation is. This conversation is so much bigger than that, you know? And if you reduced it to that simply, then you're ignoring every facet of what is wrong with boxing as it relates to the sanctioning bodies. To assume that promoters and or fighters ducking is the problem with boxing is ridiculous. It is a multi-pronged issue where sanctioning bodies, lawyers, promoters, managers, even trainers at times are trying to get theirs in a sport for which there's always ways to squeeze things out, depending on what you represent to that fighter and specifically in what position you are to be able to make certain, decisions and things like that. So we're talking about Crawford and the belt, and specifically the WBC taking this belt and saying, you didn't pay for 2 fights, so we're not keeping it, or so you're not keeping it. Now, we know that very few people thought that Canelo was going to lose that fight. I don't think that the WBC was ever in the business of promoting their super middleweight champion as Terrence Crawford. Now, Terrence Crawford didn't even seem like he was going to be in the business of really, keeping that belt. That said, the way this was done is intentful. The way this was done was to cause specific harm in one way or another, right? So to take the belt from Crawford and not keep that on the line, Mauricio Suleiman is trying to take a stance and say, you will not use the WBC brand and its legendary, place as the green belt if you're not adhering to these, things. And as Abe said, this could be a situation where Crawford taking this stance actually helps other fighters who are, nickeled and dimed. And look, we can go through the last like 20 years and there are example after example, and not just in the WBC. That's not fair, right? It's in all sanctioning bodies of dudes paying their fees to move up in rankings and get, number one contender fights and elimination fights and interim fights and super duper galactic interim fights and diamond belt super duper actic Death Star belt and like all these stupid fucking things, just to tax. That's all it is to tax, right? And here's the other aspect of it. If the WBC exists as a company that is supposed to be a sanctioning body promoting boxing, why does Mauricio Suleiman exist as such a figurehead? I understand the job is supposed to be very important, right? But he doesn't exist in that kind of way. He hobnobs, he's out to dinners, he's out to all these different sorts of things. You are not going to make the argument that Mauricio Suleiman and people like him in his position, right, of a sanctioning body do not benefit from that position. You're not going to say that. There's no argument that exists in which you could say Mauricio Suleiman does not benefit from his place in boxing. Should he benefit? Should there be benefits? That's yeah, you should be able to enjoy certain aspects of the job, right, that you give so much to. But the expectation, that to me is like, yo, what the fuck? Because if you have that expectation, then that means you can be wronged, right? Like, oh, they didn't give me they didn't send me they didn't send me to the restaurant I wanted. They didn't give me reservations to the restaurant or the dinner I wanted or a hotel or they wanted me to take a regular car, it was a fucking Lincoln Continental, not even a limo, blah blah. Like none of that's cool. Like none of that's legit. None of those are all like bitch ass arguments that make it seem even worse for his side. I do not believe that boxing will be saved simply by handing over the keys to Dana and or TKO and or Turkey's version of the ring. I do not think that boxing would be saved simply by making the ring belt the belt and ignoring all the other titles, because ultimately they all work the exact same, right? They're all designed to create a champion that is so valuable that they can all take turns milking from the teat. That's what this is all about. And so when you look at the alignment of Rider Season, WWE, UFC, and now in boxing, you have all the makings for a hostile takeover. Now, I think if you go and you look at the conversation between Nick Khan and Pat McAfee, in fact, let's do that. Oh, wait, that's not it. If you listen to the words, right? All right. So, yo, YouTube, we're gonna have to bounce out. I apologize, but we can't afford another strike, and I don't know what I'm doing on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, head over to TikTok, head over to Twitch, head over to IG, or head over to X.